will send it to the interface I just moved from. So when you click on the assignment on your right side, you're going to see a box which has, so you're going to see a box which has your work and then add or create, mark as done. So you click on the add or create box and then a drop down will come. So when the drop down comes, you click on file. So when you click on file, you see browse and then you click on browse and then it will take you straight to your file. And then wherever you saved your work at, let's say mine is as downloads, I'll click on downloads and then select the assignments that I did and then I'll open. Okay, so when you open, it comes to your work. So when it comes to your work, there's still add or create. You don't select the add or create, but then you select the turn in. So when you select the turn in, you click it and then a pop-up will come as turn in your work and then you turn in. So this is how you have to submit your assignment. So I've taken you through how to do it, and I don't expect anyone to text me again asking me about how to submit the assignment, because I expect that after taking you through this one, ideally you should be able to submit your assignment after. Okay, so thank you. Any questions, comments about how to turn in your assignment?
No.
Okay. So now let's move to the class itself.
Yeah, hello guys.
Yeah,
Can you hear
hello.
me?
Yeah, hello.
Okay. So I want us to go through last week's assignment, okay? It was a very simple assignment, and then I also kind of answered part of it for you guys, but some still managed to get it wrong. So let's go over it before we start today's class.
Okay.
Let me share my screen now. You guys can see my screen, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So this was your assignment for week 1. So for the first instruction, from the table below, input a formula in cell D6 to calculate total sales for 2015. Use autofill to calculate the total sales from 2016 to 2022. And then the second was to apply borders to the data range from cell A5 to D11. Okay, so total sales is just quantity times price. So that will be B6 times C6. And then with autofill, you just your cursor at the bottom right corner, and then you drag down or you double click to autofill. So I'm just going to drag down like this. Okay. And then to apply the borders, I'll highlight this whole cell range. And then on the home tab, I'll apply all borders. Okay. Then the third instruction was to hide the grid lines from the Excel sheet. So to hide the grid lines, you go to the view tab and then you uncheck the grid lines. Then the last was to present the data above in the cell range A18 to G21. So simply you were supposed to copy and then transpose the data in the range A18 to G21. So you just highlight everything here, then Control C to copy. You bring your cursor to cell A18, you go to the home tab, paste special, and then transpose. Okay, so this was it for the first assignment. And then if you wanted to, you could go ahead and then apply some formatting. You could format your numbers. And then over here to you apply the same formatting. Okay, so that was it for the first assignment. And then for the second one, so it says the current price of a bag of cement is 20 cedis. The price is expected to increase by 5.5% each year for the next 10 years. Starting from the year 2022, show the prices for cement in each year from 2022 to 2032. And then you have to apply any cell formatting options to your table to make it visually appealing. Okay, so I can start like this from 2022, 2023, 2024. And then instead of typing it one by one till 2032, I can just highlight the first three and then drag it till it gets to 2032. Like this. Okay, so in 2022, the price is 20 cedis. Okay. Then each year it's supposed to increase by 5.5%. So I could use this formula. That's the previous year's price times 105.5%. Then enter. Over here, so I can click and drag to the end, and then I get my values. To make things more uniform, I can format it to show just 2 decimal places after the main number. So do it like this. Okay. And then you can apply headings too. So I'll insert some cells before the 2020 and then the price. So we have the year and then the price. So to apply the cell formatting, I can hide the grid lines and then highlight everything and apply borders too. Okay. Yeah, so this was basically what you were supposed to do for the assignment. Any question? Any question? All right, no question. So we'll start with today's topic. We'll be doing preparing and presentation of financial statements. So Ernestina will take us through the intro and then I come in again.
Okay, thank you very much, Tony. So let me share my screen. Okay, so I'll be taking you through the intro, just like Tony said. So today we are going to tackle financial statements and then how to prepare a financial statement. So has any one of you heard about financial statements? Anybody? Abubakar, please go on. Yes, please.
Okay. Financial statement can be defined as a record or a written summary that conveys a business financial performance in its activities.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you very much. But before that, I hope everyone has access to the material that I'm sharing now. Okay. Thank you very much, Abubakar. Anybody else, what a financial statement is? Michael, please go ahead.
All right. Thank you so much, Madam. Financial statements is the records of past financial records of an organization that are calculated within an accounting period. So basically, we have 5 financial statements in a business: the income statement, the statement of profit, and statement of financial position, cash an organization. Yeah,
Thank
that's what
you.
we
So
have.
it looks
Thank you.
like you've already done my intro for me. Thank you very much. Okay. So yes, just like what Michael and Abubakar said, financial statements, they're actually written records that convey the business activities and the financial performance of a company. So it actually represents the financial activities of a business. So it could be for a period or for a particular date. And so it's very important for every company or every organization to prepare financial statements, because that is what we use, or that is what governments, customers, investors, and others, that is what they use to assess a company's performance. So now let's just delve into the uses of financial statements. So what do you think an investor will use a financial statement for? Anybody?
Yeah, hello.
Yes, hi, Isabella.
Please, investors are interested in businesses' financial statements in order to know how the business is performing, so that they'll make a decision whether to invest in the business or not to invest in the business.
Awesome. That is right. Thank you very much, Isabella. So just like she said, investors and financial analysts rely more on financial data so that they can be able to use it to analyze the performance of a company, and also to make predictions about the company's stock price. That is, if the company is listed. And then also, investors use financial statements to actually evaluate the financial health and then the earnings potential of the company. So we move to the government agencies. So for government agencies, when you see government agencies, they use financial statements to measure like the company's performance for tax purposes. So they actually use it to know how much tax to take from a company or it. And then also, when we move to the competitors, what do you think a competitor will use a financial statement for? Michael, please, is your hand still up? Okay. So what do you think a competitor will use a financial statement for? Okay, so a competitor usually is interested in their rivals' financial statements, because they can also use it to evaluate their financial conditions. So if they use it to check sort of if their rival is making profit or is making a loss, and then also how they can be able to take something from it to make informed decisions about their company. Yeah. And then owners as well use financial statements to make strategic decisions for the company. And then for employees use financial statements to access like the company's profitability and its consequence on their future, like sort of their remuneration and their job security. So if the company is actually making a loss from their financial statements, ideally the employee will be sort of worried about the job security and will be looking for other places to put their head in. If the company is making profits, the employee would still want to benefit from the profits that the company is making, and then would still want to be in the organization. For customers, when customers, let's just say for when a customer is considering which supplier to select for a major contract, sort of, it wants to review their financial statements first. So the customer would want to review the financial statements first in order to like judge the financial ability of a supplier, just so that the customer will be able to remain in business for long with that particular company. Okay, so now we move to the elements of financial statements. So we have the revenue, and when we talk about revenue, so the elements of financial statements is basically what you should expect or what you should put in a financial statement. So ideally, you are supposed to have revenue, assets, equities, liabilities, and expenses. So those are the 5 major elements that should be in a financial statement. And when we talk about revenue, what is a revenue? So revenue is income that businesses earn from their business activities. So revenue, sometimes we call revenue, we say revenue is also sales. So your day-to-day activities, the income that you get from your sales, the income that you get into your business, that is what is termed as a revenue. So when we talk about assets, assets are the properties or the legal rights that is owned by the business. So in simple terms, when we say assets, usually we say assets are what you own. So it presents the value the company owns. So oftentimes most people confuse assets with equities. So what then is equity? Equity represents the investment that is provided in exchange for a stake in a company. So when you see equity as shareholders, see equity as investments. So you see equity as the amount of money that the company would actually return to shareholders in the event of liquidation. So equities has to do with shareholders, equities has to do with investments, and assets has to do with like what the company actually owns. So for assets, we can have fixed assets, we can have current assets, sorry. So fixed assets are the assets that are going to be there for more than a year. And then we have the current assets. Current assets are the assets that are going to be with the company within a particular year. So the range is just from 1 day to 365 days. Yes, that is for current assets. And when you see fixed assets, you should think of assets that the company is going to use for more than 1 year. So example of a fixed asset, we could talk about machinery, we could talk about fixtures and fittings. Example of current assets, we could talk about cash. Yes. And then we also have intangible assets, and then we have tangible assets. So intangible assets, just like the name suggests, are basically the assets that you can't see, but they are assets, but you can't see, but they are what the company owns. So just like the explanation of assets, when I say assets represents the value that the company owns. So a goodwill is an intangible asset. It represents the value of the company. The company has gotten a good name out there. So that is what is termed as a goodwill, and that is the assets that the company, that is the intangible assets that the company owns. Now, we have tangible assets. So tangible assets, just like the name suggests, they are basically they are the assets that you can see. So you can see that the company has machines in the company. You can see that the company has plants. You can see that the company has a vehicle. Yes, so those are tangible assets. And then we move to liabilities. I've already explained the equities. So liabilities, what do you think a liability will be? Anybody to explain what a liability is? Charles, please go ahead.
Okay, when you talk about a liability, it's a financial obligation that an entity needs to settle.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else? Isabella, please go ahead.
And please, I just want to continue
Oh, that's fine.
what
Please
he said.
do.
Yes. It is as a result of past events that may have occurred.
Okay. Thank you very much. Anybody else? Okay, so just like what they said, liabilities are what a company owes. So liabilities too are divided into two. We have the current liabilities, and then we have the non-current liabilities. So for the current liabilities, just like the definition for current assets, just know that current assets is just their assets that are between 1 day to 365 days, that is within a year. That is current assets. So it's the same for liabilities too. So when I say current liabilities, it means the liabilities that the company has to settle. So the debts that the company has to settle within a year. So examples of current liabilities are like bank overdrafts. So the company would have to settle the bank overdraft within a year. So we have non-current liabilities. So just know that non-current assets are assets that the company owns, and they are going to be there for more than a year. So non-current liabilities are also liabilities that the company would have to settle after a year. An example is a loan, a long-term loan. So just like the name is a long-term loan, the company would have to settle it after 1 year. Yes. And then we move to expenses. So expenses are actually the gross outflows that are incurred by the business. So basically, what the company incurs from buying something, what the company incurs from manufacturing a product, those are generally the expenses. So we move to a budget. What is a budget? So a budget is just like it's here. A budget are planned expenses, revenues, assets and liabilities, and cash flows for a defined period of time. So oftentimes people say a budget is a financial plan. So a budget is actually like a projection or a forecast about your income statement. So what you are going to present in maybe 3 months, in maybe 6 months, in maybe a year. So you are preparing a budget now for a forecast for what you are going to sort of accrue in 3 years, in 6 months, or in a year. So what then is a difference between a budget and a financial statement? So you should know that a financial statement records like performance of the past. So past performance. A financial statement is used to record past performance, and then a budget is actually used to record future performance or the future forecast of a business. Those are the underlying differences. Aside that, the format for a financial statement is actually the same as the format for a budget. And then we'll move to the components of Abubakar, please, you have your hand up.
Sorry, it was a mistake.
Okay, sure. Okay, so we have the components of the financial statement. So just like what Michael said, the financial statement should comprise these 5 statements. So we have the statement of financial position, That is the balance sheet. And what is a balance sheet? Anybody to help me with what a balance sheet is? Okay. Okay, so Abubakar, please go ahead.
So a balance sheet is a document that entails the business.
Sorry, please, I didn't hear you.
A balance sheet is a written statement that entails a business total assets and liability.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you very much, Abubakar. Prince, please go ahead. Prince, please, are you speaking? Okay. So just like Abubakar said, a balance sheet explains the financial position of a company at a specific point in time. So as opposed to an income statement, so I'm explaining the second one, the second point and the first point. So an income statement, it records the financial information over a period, but then a balance sheet records a financial position at a specific point in time. So a balance sheet is used to determine the health of a company on a specific day. So what does a company use the balance sheet for? So the company can use its balance sheet to craft like internal decisions through the information that is presented, and is usually good to use the balance sheet to make financial decisions for the company. So just like Abubakar said, we have the assets in the balance sheet, we have the liabilities in the balance sheet, and then we have the equities in the balance sheet too. And then the income statement, the income statement also presents it presents the financial position of the company over a specified period of time. So maybe for that particular, maybe you are presenting an income statement for a year. So what you should see in an income statement is the revenue that you've gotten for the year. So it's giving you the revenue for a particular period. So from the beginning of the year till date, it's giving you the revenue that you've gotten for the period, and then the expenses that you've incurred for the period. So when you see a balance sheet, you should know that you are putting capital, you are putting assets, you are putting liabilities in a balance sheet. And when you see an income statement, you should know that you are putting revenue in the income statement, you are putting expenses in the income statement, because those are the ones that you have used for a particular period of time. Yes, so the assets, maybe if you are doing as at 31st December, for the balance sheet, as at 31st December, you have to check if really, as at 31st December, you have that particular asset in the company. As at 31st December, you have been able to settle your financial debt to your creditors. So we move to, for now, today we are going to do financial position, we are going to do income statements, and we are going to do statements of cash flows. So what's our statements of cash flow? What is a cash flow? I think we did it last week. So if anybody can help me with what a cash flow is. Okay. So a cash flow. Charles, sorry, Prince, please go ahead.
Can you hear me, please?
Yes, please.
I was about to talk about the balance sheet, but then
Oh, you can talk about the balance sheet. You can add to it.
but you talked about it already, so I'm just going to talk about it. So,
Okay, sure. Please go
So
ahead.
the cash flow statement basically details out um, cash inflows and cash outflows, and then the cash balance of a business over a period of time, or maybe a year or something, or maybe a year end or something.
Okay. Thank you very much, Prince. Anybody else? Okay, so Prince is right. A cash flow is basically showing you the cash that has come into the company and then the cash that has gone out of the company. So the statement of cash flow is to provide like a detailed picture of what actually happened to the business's cash during a specified period. So we are doing accounting. So it's also known as, so when we talk about a specified period, we are talking about the accounting period. So it demonstrates like the organization's ability to sort of operate in the short and the long term based on how much cash is flowing into the company and how much cash is flowing out of the company. That is what statements of cash flow is. So for the statement of changes in equity, what it is basically is it shows the movement of capital in the company. Example, if the buying and the selling of shares, and then also the injection of more capital into the business. So if you started your business with say 100,000 cedis, and then if that is like beginning of the year, you started with 100,000 cedis, that is your capital. And then at the end of the year, what the statement of changes in equity does is from first January till date, have you been able to add more capital to your initial capital? Have you been able to take out some of the capital from the business? That is what changes in equity, the statement of changes in equity shows. And then the notes to the financial statement, what it does basically is to add more explanation it adds more explanation to how the financial statements were. So when you take the statements of financial position, and then you can just do a note about the elements in the statements of financial position. When you take the income statement or the profit and loss, you can just add notes to it. Sort of you're explaining the elements and how you were able to arrive at that particular figure. That is what the note does. So I'm going to leave Tony to take you through the practice question and then the formats for the financial statement.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ernestina, for your introduction. So before I start, it seems there was some confusion in the chat. It seems some of you are not supposed to be here. So this is actually the Excel financial modeling with Excel class. So if you are supposed to be in Excel for productivity, that class starts at 12. So we made changes to the timing yesterday. Okay, so if you are doing Excel for productivity, please know that your class will start at 12. Okay, so let me share my screen and then start with you.
Hello, sir. Please, can you come again with what you just said?
Okay, so I'm trying to say that we have two classes, Excel for productivity and then financial modeling. So last week we did Excel for productivity before financial modeling, but the times have changed now. So from now on, financial modeling will start at 9, whilst Excel for productivity is at 12. So I'll say that it seems some guys are here who are doing Excel for productivity. So I just wanted them to know that.
Oh, okay. But please, I want to know, can one join both class?
Oh yeah, you can be in both classes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions so far on all what Ernestina has said? Any confusion, any question, or if anybody wants to add anything to it? Okay, so I also want to draw attention to something Ernestina said. So to kind of make it easier for you to understand the financial statement, I'll try and create a link between the components of the financial statements and then the elements. So for example, if you take the income statement, which is a component, you should be able to see some elements in it. And those elements are revenue and then expenses. So that's the connection between the component and then the elements. In the component, you find some elements. You are not going to find all elements in one single component. For example, in the income statement, you are going to see just revenue and then expenses. Then in the statement of financial position, which is also called the balance sheet, you are going to see your assets, liabilities, and then equity. Okay, so that's the connection I want you to know. The components, the elements are within the component. So for each component, you should be able to know which elements are contained in it. Any question on that? Any question? Okay, I'll assume that's a no. So before we get to solving the practice question, I want to take you through the formats for the financial statements. So as Ernestina said, we are going to do the income statement, the statement of financial position, and then the cash flow statement. And then I just want you to also know that the income statement is also called the profit or loss account. You can use the names interchangeably, but nowadays people like to refer to them as the income statement. So if you hear me say profit or loss account, just know that I'm talking about the income statement. And then for the statement of financial position, that's what we also refer to as the balance sheet. So in case you hear me saying balance sheet, I'm referring to the statement of financial position. Okay. So for those of you who are already familiar with these financial statements, you can see that what I'm presenting to you is a bit simplified. It's not as complex as what you might know in school. Okay, so this is a very simplified version of it. I don't want to confuse you guys with a lot of accounting and finance stuff. So this is a very simplified version of the profit and loss account or the income statement. So just as I said, the income statement contains two elements of financial statements. That's the revenue and then the expenses or the cost. So revenue or income and then expenses or cost. So basically the income statement is in two parts. The first part, which is the sales, is our revenue, is our source of revenue. Okay. And then from the cost of sales all to the operating expenses are our expenses. So the profit or loss account or income statement basically shows our profits by taking away our costs from our income. Okay. So we have the sales, then cost of sales. Okay. So the cost of sales are the direct costs related to the business. Remember that last week I talked about direct and then indirect costs. So when preparing the profit or loss account or the income statement, it tries to show a differentiation between the indirect cost and then the direct cost. So in accounting terms, the direct costs are referred to as the cost of sales. So the sales is the business you are doing. So like the sales is what is giving you money. So what costs you to make those sales? Those are your direct costs. For example, if you sell bread or you bake bread to sell, before you can bake the bread, you have to get flour, you have to get sugar, and I think probably oil. So those things are what is going to make you those things are what's going to make you get the bread and then you sell them. So those are your direct costs, and that is your cost of sales. Okay. So the next aspect, so the sales minus the cost of sales. So your sales minus your direct cost is going to give you your gross profit, which is what we have over here. And then to calculate the cost of sales, there are some components of it. We will get to that when we are solving the question. So just know that your sales minus your cost of sales or sales minus the direct cost is going to give you your gross profit. And then after you get your gross profit, you can add any additional incomes that you are making. So for example, you have a business, your main source of revenue is sales, but then you might have other sources of income. For example, if you have money in the bank and then you gain interest on that money that you have at the bank, it's revenue to you or it's income to you, but that's not your main income. So in accounting, we see that as additional income. So that additional income, we do not add it to the sales, okay? So you can see the top part from sales to cost of sales or the sales to gross profits as direct items that relate to the business. So like direct sales and then direct costs. So after you get your gross profit, if you have any other sources of making income, you can add it to it. So your gross profits plus additional income is your total income. Okay, so after you get your total income is your operating expenses. So your operating expenses are also known as your indirect costs. For example, if you should pay for electricity, rent, salaries, and all those things, those are indirect costs. They are costs that you incur in running the business, but they are not directly related to like the production. So like if you are baking bread, if you pay rent or you pay for electricity, it goes ahead to help in the production, but then it's not directly related to the bread that you are trying to bake or you are baking. So that's why they are known as indirect expenses or operating expenses. So in simple terms, the profit or loss account or income statement, your sales, that's your direct source of income or your direct source of revenue minus cost of sales. It will give you your gross profits. If you have any additional incomes, add it, you get your total income. Then you subtract your operating expenses or indirect expenses from it, and that's going to give you your net profits. So it's simply sales minus costs or sales minus expenses. But then we try to differentiate the direct ones and then the indirect ones. Any questions so far? The voice is breaking. Okay. You can try and exit the meeting and then join again if you are finding difficult hearing. Okay. Okay, so let me continue to the balance sheet, which is also known as the statement of financial position. So the statement of financial position also shows your assets, liabilities, and then the equity. So I know most of you will be hearing about net worth, like you'll be hearing that Bill Gates is worth 50 billion, whatever, or Elon Musk is worth 100 billion. So to be able to calculate that net worth, they use the balance sheet. So if you want to know your net worth, you can also do your own balance sheet to know how much you are worth. And that's simply, you take your assets. If someone asks a question. Okay, so your net worth, you simply take your assets and then you subtract your liabilities from it. Whatever is left is your net worth. Okay, and that's what the balance sheet is trying to present to us. So we take our assets and then we take away our liabilities from it. And in presenting the information we make a differentiation between the current assets and the non-current assets, and it's not already explained that to us, so I'll not go over that again. So when you're presenting your assets, you first have to start with your non-current assets. So example is the property that you have, the building you have, if you have any plants or equipment in your building. Your motor vehicles are also your current assets. The furniture in your building too is your non-current assets. Okay, so then the current assets, we have inventory, trade receivables. There are other current assets too, like prepaid expenses. Okay, so in case you have any prepaid expenses, you also capture that under your current assets. So the other part is the equities and liabilities. And even before I even get to that, the reason why we call this a balance sheet is that when preparing the balance sheet, we are supposed to get two figures that are supposed to be the same. So we call it the accounting equation. So your total assets, which is the current and non-current assets, is supposed to be the same as your total equities and liabilities. So you can even see with my presentation that for the total assets and then the total equities and liabilities, I've underlined it separately. Okay. So after you prepare or you present your assets, you then show your equity and then liability. And I believe most of us know, or even all of us know, what our equities and liabilities are. For the liabilities too, you have to differentiate between those ones that are current and then those ones that are not current. Okay, so that's it for the balance sheet. So the last one that we will cover in this class is the statement of cash flows. And as explained last week, cash flow is simply the movement of money in and out of the company. Okay. So in a way, the cash flow can be similar to the income statement. Okay. Because if the income statement shows expenses and then revenue, revenue is money coming in, expenses is money going out. So you may think that you can use your profit or loss account for your cash flow statement. But that's not always the case. In accounting, there are some expenses that does not involve the movement of money. Does anyone know what depreciation is? Depreciation. I want to hear from you guys. So, okay. So Prince, tell me what depreciation is.
Hello, sir. This is Charles.
Oh,
Okay, Charles. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So
it's
so
Charles
depreciation.
talking. Okay.
Okay, let Charles talk. After then Prince, you also talk.
So depreciation is the loss of value in an asset.
Okay. Thank you very much. Prince.
So depreciation basically means the fall in value of a property or a machine or something. If of let's say non-current asset or what you the madam said, fixed asset. The fall in value of a particular fixed asset, being it machine or property or something.
Okay. That's also fine. So I want to explain to you guys what like depreciation in typical accounting terms mean. So what you guys said about depreciation is correct. But then in accounting, we like to say it differently. Okay. So let's say you go out to buy an equipment, or let's say you go out to buy a car. The car costs about 10,000 Ghana cedis. Okay. So the idea behind depreciation accounting is that you bought a car for 10,000 cedis. In a way, that is like an expense to you, but it's a capital expenditure. Capital expenditure in the sense that that item that you bought, which is the car, is not going to last for just a year. You are going to use it for a long time. And that car is also going to help you make money in the business. Okay, when you check the definition of an asset, it says that it's anything that the company owes and has the ability to generate income for the company for some period of time. Okay, so if you know you have a car and then that car is not generating income for you and it's making you just incur more expenses, it's not an asset. So those of you think you have assets, but then it's not generating income, but rather making you spend, you don't have an asset, you have a liability. So by the definition of an asset, it's anything that the company owes and then it is able to generate income for that company. So when you buy a car, you own the car, and in a way, it's going to generate income for you. So if you are going to use that car for deliveries, or you are going to use to visit customers or your clients, it's going to help you generate income. Okay. So that's why I'm trying to say that when you buy a car today, it's like you spent money. Someone can say it's an expenditure. In a way, it's right, it's an expenditure. But then this is a capital expenditure because it's something that is going to be in existence for more than 1 year or a very long period of time. Okay. So in accounting, when you incur this type of capital expenditure, they don't want to charge it to just a period. Okay. For example, you buy a car today and you charge that, let's say you bought it for 100,000 Ghana cedis. Accountant don't want you to charge all the 100,000 cedis in this year's profit or loss account. They don't want you to charge that 100,000 cedis in this year's income statement. The reason being that that car is not going to be available just this year. It's going to be available in subsequent years. So what they want to do is to spread the cost of the car over the years that is going to be in existence. So now how do you spread the cost of the car? You spread it with depreciation. So in typical accounting terms, depreciation is a way of spreading the costs of a non-current asset over a period of time. Is that clear? Any confusion, any question? Anyone who understands it? Who understands what I just said? Is any hand up? Abubakar. Okay, Abubakar. So can you try and re-explain what I just said in case someone didn't understand the way I explained it?
Okay.
Mhm.
You said for depreciation, it can be well
Mhm.
understood as it's being incurred for a fixed asset,
Okay.
which is also known as a capital expenditure of an organization. And
Okay.
since this expenditure doesn't only last, let's say, a year or an annual, we
Mhm.
spread the expenditure over over a period of time.
Exactly.
So let's say you bought the item or the asset this year. So because we can't incur all the assets in this year, we spread over this full life.
Okay.
So
Okay.
every year the portion of the asset that has been incurred, that is being used will be deducted
Mhm.
and presented as
depreciation.
asset depreciation in the financial
Exactly. Exactly.
account.
Exactly. That's perfect. Yeah. So as I said, what I think Prince and then was Abubakar, you spoke the first time, right? What you said about depreciation the first time is actually right. It's very, very correct. But when accountants are treating depreciation, this is what they mean. That they have a non-current asset or a fixed asset. It's both in the same year. Okay. Let me complete what I was saying before I answer Bless's question. So when accountants are talking about depreciation, it means they bought a fixed asset, and they have incurred a capital expenditure, and they don't want to treat it in one single year. The reason being that capital expenditure is going to be used over a number of years. So to make sure that all those number of years gets an equal portion of the cost, they have to divide it. And so they do that division with depreciation. Okay, so Bless was asking a question that what if the capital asset is bought in the same year? They are preparing the SOP. What's SOP? Is it SOFP? Bless, can you come again? I don't know what SOP is. Statement of financial position. Okay, the balance sheet. In the current year, there was no depreciation. Okay, so you see that the balance sheet shows your assets, liabilities, and then equity. So that vehicle you have bought or the car you bought is an asset. So it's going to show in the balance sheet or your statement of financial position. And then whether there is depreciation or not, it's still going to be there. Okay. I don't know if I've answered your question clearly. If not, you can unmute and then explain further so that I understand you. Bless, are you okay?
Okay, please can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I was saying like you were saying, like since it's a capital asset, like an
Capital
accountant will not.
expenditure.
Oh, okay, capital expenditure. An accountant will not try and then put everything onto the balance sheet. So
Okay.
what it does is that it will spread the cost over its useful life, and then like
Okay. Yeah,
of
you
the
hold on.
balance sheet,
I get you. Hold on. So I don't want to cut you short, but I get you. So you see that for the financial statement, we show our costs on the income statement, not on the balance sheet. Okay. So what I'm saying is that they don't want to show that cost, that entire capital expenditure, that 100,000 they bought on the car, because the car you have is an asset, but before you bought it, you incurred a cost. Okay. So we don't want to show that entire cost for just 1 year. So that cost, we will divide it and then treat it as depreciation for each year. So that's how it's going to be treated in the income statement, because it's the income statement that we are going to treat our costs. But in the statement of financial position or the balance sheet, the amount for the car is going to be there. So if the car is 100,000, in the statement of financial position, which shows our assets, we are going to put 100,000 there for the car. Okay. Let's say he understands, so we can continue. Any more questions? So statement of cash flows or cash flow statements. I don't know if I was done with the explanation, but I was saying that the cash flows can be similar to the income statement, but the only difference is that the cash flows records actual movements of cash. So that's how come we even spoke about depreciation. For depreciation, we treat it as an expense, but then the cash does not actually move. When we say this year depreciation is 100 cedis, the 100 cedis hasn't gone anywhere. It's still there. It hasn't moved anywhere. So that money has not moved. It's not a cash flow. So that's one of the differences between the income statement and then the cash flow. For the cash flow, yes, cash flow also consider inflow and outflow. The inflows will be our sales, the outflows will be our expenses. But not all expenses involve the flow of money like depreciation. Okay, so that's one difference between the statement of cash flows and then the income statement. But aside that, it's almost the same. So let's look at the items under this cash flow statement. So under the cash receipts, that is the inflow of money, we have cash sales. And if you note that even for your sales, you can sell, but not everyone will pay at that very moment. So you can, but it's going to be credit sales. So in that case, not all your sales can even be recorded under your statement of cash flow, because you can make some sales and then your clients will not pay immediately. They'll pay later on. So that's why we have cash sales over here, meaning that we have credit sales too. Then after the sales, we have sale of assets. So like for my car example, assuming you sell the assets, you are going to get money. Money is going to come in. So you record that under your cash receipts in your cash flow statement as well. So that's the cash sales, and then the sale of assets will give you a total receipts. And then for the cash payments too, we have purchases. Also note that this should actually be cash purchases, because you can also decide to make some purchases and then you won't pay immediately. You can buy on credit the same way people can also buy from you on credit. You can also buy from others on credit. So when you're doing your cash flow, you have to consider just the cash purchases. We also have admin expenses, other expenses. So like any type of expenses at all. But note that these expenses should involve the movement of cash. So for example, if you incur electricity expenses of 100 cedis, let's say ECG has sent you the bill of 100 cedis. So it's an expense. It's an expense you're supposed to pay. But if you have not paid it, you can't consider it as a cash flow. Okay. So all the expenses here have to involve movement of cash. If you haven't paid for it, it will only show in your income statement. It won't show in the cash flow statement. So if you should add up all the outflows, you get a total payment. So the total receipts minus the total payments will give you your net cash flows. I think we did this last week when we were doing the net present value, investment appraisal. So the net cash flows is the difference between the two. So what happens is that you have to add your opening cash balance. So the net cash flow plus the opening cash balance will give you your closing cash balance. So this closing cash balance is going to be the opening cash balance for another period. Any question, any confusion? Any question? Okay. Okay, so before we get to the practice question for today, I don't think we may be able to solve the entire question today, but then let's just try and understand what you have to understand. Then we continue next week. So in preparing our financial statements with Excel, there are some Excel functions, features, or skills that we have to know. So the first one I'd like to show you is the inbuilt cell formatting options. Well, I remember that when I gave you guys the assignments, I asked you to apply any cell formatting options to make your presentation visually appealing. So I saw that a couple of you were adding your own cell colors, font colors, and all that. Well, to be able to do that, you have to like kind of have, let's say, graphic design skills, not like serious graphic design skills, but then you have to be able to use colors very well. Also, your presentation is going to look like a painting. It's going to look like a painting. And then as accountant, you have to be able to present your work nicely and then very, very visually appealing. So if you don't, okay, Ronald, that's a question. Ronald, you can talk.
Sir, I only had the assignments for the Excel productivity. I didn't get assignments for this class.
So I think you haven't joined the Google Classroom for the financial model. Have you joined the Google Classroom for financial modeling?
I just joined for that Excel productivity, so I don't know whether this one to start.
Okay, so there's a different Google Classroom page for that one. Abi, you are in the WhatsApp group. The link should be there.
But the WhatsApp group I'm in, that one is BGS. I don't know.
It's
Like I'm
BGS.
somehow confused.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you join the productivity class last week?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But did you join the financial modeling class last week too?
No.
No.
Like last
Okay.
week, they started at 10, but it was session productivity. So
Yeah,
today I'm
yeah.
confused.
So yes. Yeah, I know I understand your confusion. So it seems
Ronald,
Yes.
are you supposed to join Excel for productivity or BGS financial modeling?
I'm somehow confused. I don't know whether you are doing Excel or like me. I thought it was only Excel that I have to join.
So
But
the mail that
thing,
they sent to you was
I
just for
had this
Excel.
mail.
It was
I had
just for
this mail.
Excel for productivity.
This one.
This particular one. Okay,
Yeah, I
you
had
know what?
this. Yeah.
I'll text you.
Okay.
Just so that the call won't drag, I'll text you.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
okay. So let's get back to our cell formatting options. So I just wanted to show you that Excel has some built-in formatting options. Okay. So when you come to the Home tab, you see there's cell styles over here. And then it has several cell styles. Okay. So when I was doing the format for my financial statements, you could see that the headings, the name of the company and then the name of the financial statements, I use the heading style for the name of the company, and then I use heading 2 for the name of the financial statements. So I just want to know that these formatting options are available. They are inbuilt. You don't need to come up with your own. If you can come up with your own, that's very fine. But then if you don't want to go through that stress, you can just use these ones here. And then they've also kind of described what each style is used for. So let's say you are preparing any statement at all, and you are giving it a heading. So you can just come to the built-in styles. We have styles for titles and headings. If you want to give it the main heading, you can give it heading 1. If it's a subheading, heading 2, and so on. Okay. So you don't need to stress yourself and then try and come up with your own styles. You can just use the built-in ones and then you'll be fine to go. There are other options too. We have calculation. So if you know you have a cell that has some functions or formulas in it, means the cell is doing some calculations. You can use this calculation format rather than coming up with your own calculation. Okay, so I just want you to take note that these built-in styles are available for you. You don't need to come up with your own styles all the time. Okay, so the next one is custom formatting options. Okay, so I want to show you this custom formatting option dialog box. Okay, so the shortcut key to access it is Ctrl+1. I hope you guys have opened your Excel applications.
Yes, please.
Okay, so usually if you want to format a text, okay, you come to the Home tab, and then under the formatting group, you have some options here. You can format it general. General means no specific format. We have number, we have currency, account, and dates, and all that. But assuming you want to do more, for example, I think last week some people were trying to format their numbers as currency, but then the dollar sign was appearing there. Okay, so let me show you something. So let me see if mine will still have the Ghana cedi sign. Okay, mine still has the Ghana cedi sign. So I'll show you how I did that. So let's say we have 10,000 over here. So I said that to be able to access the custom formatting options, the shortcut key is Ctrl+1. Okay, so you can try it out. You see something like this. So the options we have over here, which is under the category heading, is what we saw under the Home tab, the general, number, currency, and so on. Okay, but then assuming you want to do your own formatting, you can come to custom. Okay, so the custom aspect looks a bit scary, but then I'll show you how to go about it. Okay, Is there a question? Abu Bakar.
Yeah. Please, we can't see your table on the screen.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm coming. Let me see if I can share that one as well. But then when you press Control 1, do you see the format cells box?
Yes,
Do you see
please.
it, do you see it on your side?
Yeah, the format
Let me
pop
see
up.
Okay. I want to see if I can share that one too. Okay, can you see mine now?
Yes.
Okay, so because I'm using Mac OS, my interface might be a bit different from yours. Okay, but it's basically the same thing. So I was saying that when you come to the last option, which is custom, the custom has a couple of formats over there. Okay, they look confusing, but then there's a trick behind it. I believe when you see this kind of formatting option, you know that it's a date. Can you be able to identify that? DD/MM/YYYY.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to show you something. So assuming you want to format your date, this way, but then you don't want to use the slash. Okay, maybe you want to use some other character. For example, let me use this character for mine. So before I get to that, you can select any of them and then edit it to suit your needs. Okay. Let me show you an example. So let's say I entered my date. I don't want it to show the slash sign. I want it to show something like this. You see the character that I've inputted there. You can locate the date function within your custom functions, the custom formatting options. And then you select it and then edit it. Okay. So for those of you who are seeing the $ under your accounting option, you just have to locate the currency sign with the $ here. For mine, I've changed all of mine to Ghana cedis.
Hello, sir. Sorry.
Okay, Charles.
Please, sir, my format, sir, I can't get those features you are having.
Are you under custom?
I hit Control plus Y and the format K.
Control plus Y.
Yes, please.
And
it's showing only the font size, and then the size.
Okay, so go to number. Can you go to number? You see there are different tabs here. Do you see the tabs at the top?
Yes, please.
Okay, so have you seen number tab?
Sir, are you referring to the format, sir? Inside the format, sir, I can't find the number there.
You can't find the number.
The numbers.
Wow.
After hitting the Control plus Y, I get access to only the formats where beneath it is fonts, and then
yeah. Can you see the fonts on my screen?
Yes, please. I can see the font. Yeah.
Yes. So those are tabs. We have number, alignment, fonts, border, fill protection.
Yeah, those alignments. Mine is not showing. I don't know why.
You don't have number there.
No, it's only fonts.
Is anyone else having that issue?
Yes, please. I'm also having that issue.
Yeah, same issue.
Wow. So who can see the number tab?
My number tab is showing.
Okay.
Same here. I can see the number tab.
You guys, are you sure your Excel is activated?
Me too. I can see a number tab.
You can see what? Okay. So for those of you who can see, how are we going to do it? Okay, there's another approach here.
Yes, sir, please, mine has come.
Okay. For those of you who can't see it with the Control+1, if you are using Windows, in the home tab, the number group, at the bottom right corner, there's a box with an arrow pointing down. I don't have it on mine, but if you are using Windows, you should be able to see that.
Sir,
Yeah.
I was having that challenge. I think the reason why it wasn't coming was because that particular cell was, I think it was locked. So maybe students can type on a different cell and hit Control+Y and let's see if it will come. Because mine,
yes.
it wasn't coming. So I selected a different cell and it's not showing.
Okay. But I mean, the Control+1 is just a shortcut, and I use that one because I can't use the normal way on mine. So you just go to the home tab. In the number group, below where you have the general or number or whatever, there should be a box here, bottom right corner, a box and then an arrow pointing down. When you click on it, it's going to show you that custom formatting option dialog box.
Yes, please, I've seen it.
Can everyone locate it now?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay. So let's continue from where we were. Are you able to see my dialog box? I have to share my screen again. Okay, I'm coming. Abubakar, do you have a question?
Please,
You don't have a question?
no, please.
Okay. All right. So I think now you can see my Excel and then the format cells option. Okay. So I was saying that, so you can see that before I press the Control+1, let me start again from here. So I've typed 10,000 over here. I want to format it as a currency. So I use the normal formatting options. Under general, I change it to accounting. Or let me just use currency. Okay. So in my case, it's showing as Ghana cedi. But it's likely most of you are going to have dollars over there. So if you want to show it as Ghana cedis, this is what you're going to do. So I think you can just follow along. You can type the same 10,000 any amount and then change the formatting to currency. And you let the dollar sign show. Are we on the same page? Okay. So after doing that, you press Control+1, you go to the custom formatting options. If you had already selected currency, when you do Control+1, you see that the currency option will already be selected here. Okay. So even from that side, you should be able to change the currency if you have Ghana cedi there. But it's likely most of you won't have Ghana cedi there. So there's another way around it. You come to custom. When you come to custom, if yours formatted in dollars, just look for any of the formatting options that has the dollar sign there. Okay. Mine, for example, I have the Ghana cedi sign over here. So I know that this formatting option is for currency. So in your case, you might have a dollar sign over there. So what you can do is that you can just, after clicking on that option, you come to this side and then you'll be able to edit it. So I'll take away the Ghana cedi sign. And then in my case, I'll put US dollars there. Please, my voice is low. Okay. So I can put, let's say, USD. USD over here. Then I press OK. Okay, Excel says you can use my formatting option. Let me put the currency sign there. Okay, so you see that my formatting has changed from Ghana to CD to the dollar sign. So please try and do that on your side. Yours is going to show us dollars, but change it to Ghana CD. So you can type GHS over there. Try it and let me see if it works. You guys understand what I did?
Mine is saying Excel cannot use this format or something.
Okay, so if you are encountering that issue, try another formatting option that has the currency, like the currency sign there. I also encountered that issue initially, so let me try it again. I'll look for another option. Let's see this one. Let me use USD. Still. Okay. Has anyone got it to work?
Mine, I have the Ghana cedis in the currencies. So
You have Ghana cedi in the currency.
Yes, please. The
Okay.
GHC.
Okay.
The options.
Okay. Then you are good to go.
A lot of currencies.
That's fine. Some people may not have that.
I don't.
So you have to go with the custom approach. Try it and let me see if it works. Okay. Has anyone got it to work?
The GHS, but it isn't working.
It's not working. I'm coming. Let me see the right format. So I think it's only able to accept signs. You see, initially I was able to change my Ghana cedi to the dollar sign. If you use an actual sign, it's going to work. But then if you use alphabets, that's where the challenge is. Has anyone got it to work so far? Anyone?
So this is
Pardon?
Sure.
Yes, Isabella.
Please, the previous one where we chose the currency and you said we can change the dollar sign to the
any currency.
GHC. Should it be there? Say I saw mine. It's GHC, right?
Okay, if you see GHC there, then that's fine. But I knew there was some time
But
ago.
if I click OK, they told me it cannot be used in the format.
So, for example, let's say you come here and then you select currency. You're able to see GHC over here under the symbol.
Yes.
And you're able to, and you select it, and it still says it can't apply.
It applies to the figures that are inside. That's already the example figures
Okay,
that
the
are already
example
inside,
there.
but it doesn't apply to mine.
So, okay, make sure that like you type a number, okay, in a cell. Then while selecting that cell, you use the control one to open the dialog box, and then you do it again. It's likely your active cell is maybe contains like alphabet or something like that. That's why.
It has the dollar sign there.
I mean, like just type any number, okay? And then now use the control one to open that dialog box, and then go to the currency sign and then change it. Let me know when it works, okay? So for those of you who have the Ghana cedi sign over here, you can just go ahead to use it. Don't bother about the custom option. Isabella, is it working now?
Yeah, I had the same challenge like Isabella's, but when I changed a different cell.
You changed to a different cell?
Yes, I retyped it in a different cell, like the $1,000, and it worked.
Yeah. Okay. So it's likely the initial cell you are trying to format doesn't contain numbers. It's very likely. Okay. So just make sure that you have a number over there. Okay, let's try and move faster now. Cell referencing. So I wanted to show you guys a quick.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. Okay, you're welcome. So I wanted to show you guys a bit about cell referencing, absolute and then relative cell referencing. So we have two types. We have the absolute and then relative. So I'll use an example to show you guys. So you see that the assignments I gave you, you were supposed to find total sales, okay? So there was quantity and then there was price. So let me do this real quick. Let's see, 23, 45, 6. And then the prices are different. The prices are not constant. So 10, 13, 15. Okay, so what this means is that find the total, so you must multiply each quantity by its corresponding price. So let's reference the cells. So equal to, then I select cell C145 times D145. So if you press equal to, and then you select the cell you want, or let's say you type the reference there manually, so like D145. You see, if you do something like this is what we call referencing. Okay, you are referencing a cell. So now relative referencing. When I do this, and then I drag it down like this, you see that the first one that I did, it is referencing C145, D145. The row is constant. Okay, so the total sales cell is in row 145. The quantity cell is in row 145. The price cell is in 145. Now, when I come down to the next one, that one is in row 146. The quantity cell is in row 146. Price cell is in row 146. So it is relative to what I'm doing. So when I go down, the cell 2 also changes. So there's a relation between each total sales and then the quantity and then the price. Do you get the logic? Okay, so it means that when it moves down, when the total sales moves down, the price and quantity also moves down. So that's relative cell referencing. Now let me show you absolute. So for the absolute, I'll use a different example. We copy the same thing here. So assuming in our scenario, the price is constant throughout. Okay, so for each quantity, the price is constant, unlike the first example, meaning I may not need this column. So this is my price. I know that it's constant. So rather than typing it several times here, I'll just do this. So let's say the price is 50 cedis. So what happens is that when I do quantity, the first quantity times the price, which is now over here, I'll get the correct value. Now watch what happens when I drag down. So over here, I'm expecting that the total sales, let me put it here. Expecting that the total sales, let's even an error, I'll explain to you. So for the first one, total sales is quantity, which is 100 times 49, and that's correct. Let me maximize my screen a bit. Okay, so for the next one, I'm expecting that the total sales will be the C158 times 49. But what they did it does, because I moved down, the price also came down. Now look at the next one too. I'm expecting it to be 40 times 49, but then it showed me 40 times 4,900. So this one too, it tried to apply the relative cell referencing, but I don't want that. I want it to always be quantity times price, which is the 49 at each stage. So to make your cell reference absolute, or to make it stay at one place, you have to introduce a dollar sign before the cell name. Okay. So the cell name too, if you remember from last week, the cell name has the column alphabet and then the row number. So like D155, that is in column D, row 155. So I introduce a dollar sign in front of the D, and then I introduce a dollar sign in front of the 155. So to make a particular cell absolute, you introduce the dollar sign in front of the column alphabet, and then the row number. So I've done that for the first total sales. And let me drag down again. So now I think I'm getting my right figures. So total sales for quantity 23 times 49. I come down to 40 times 49. So it's always staying on the 49, even though I drag down, it didn't move along with it. And you can see that because I've not made the cell for the quantity absolute, that one there is coming down. So from C157, which is the first quantity, when I come down, it goes to C158. When I come down, it goes to C159. So that one isn't absolute. That one is relative. It's moving down along with the total sales. Any question, any confusion? Are we okay?
Please, can you come again?
Oh.
Please,
Where do you want me to start from?
Dollar sign in front of the letter, and then in front of the row, the number. It makes the this thing, so the price absolute, like it doesn't change. Is that why it doesn't change? Because of the dollar in front of them.
Because of the dollar sign. So the dollar sign is like locking it. So each one BI is still on the D155.
Okay.
So if I keep scrolling down, see, it's not on D155. If it was relative, it would have come down with it. The one wanted me to come again. Where do you want me to come again from? Is there a specific point that you got lost?
For
Was that Isabella?
For self-differencing.
Cell referencing. Are you saying cell referencing? Oh, I can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm saying self-differencing.
Yes.
Self-differencing.
So I said, yes, cell referencing. Okay. So I was saying that we have two types, which is the relative and then the absolute. I showed you an example of the relative with this one. So the relative is in the sense that, so for example, I want to calculate total sales for this quantity times price. So this is Excel. So we are not going to be doing it one by one. You can't come in, okay, so this times this, then come again, this times this. It's going to waste time. And if you have a lot of figures, you are going to waste time. You might not even be able to do it. So what we usually do is that we do the first one, and then we use autofill to do for the rest. And so in doing for the autofill, no, there's this thing called relative cell referencing. So if you are, let's say here, the first total sale, and you come down like this, it's also going to move to the next quantity times price. When I come down again, it's going to move to the next quantity times price. So it's moving relative to each other. Okay. So when you do the first one in drag down, it's going to be changing like this. So that is relative cell referencing. And then for the absolute, I gave another example that, okay, over here, our prices are not the same. Okay. In fact, the prices are the same. Unlike the first one, that the prices were not the same. Over here, the prices are the same. And instead of showing another column for the prices like this, I could have done it like this. Okay. I could have showed it like this, like 49, 49, 49. But then because the price is the same throughout, it's going to be waste of space. So I could have done it like this and then still applied my relative cell referencing. It would have still worked, but then everything is 49 here, so there's no need to waste that much space. So this column will go away. Okay, and then since the price is the same, I'll just write it once over here. So it means for each quantity, the total sales will be quantity times price here, quantity times price here, quantity times price. Okay, so to be able to do that, that's where the absolute cell referencing comes in. So when we say absolute cell referencing, you are locking the position of a cell reference. You don't want it to move when you're doing autofill. So this quantity times price. Okay, so I need the price to stay at that same spot when I drag down. And to do that, that's where we use the dollar sign. You put the dollar sign before the column alphabet and then the row number, like this. I drag it down. So that's absolute cell referencing. So you can see that at each point, the price is the same. Please, are you okay? Are you okay?
Sir, please, quick one. Oh, sorry for,
No
sir,
problem.
I've realized you've been doing something. I want to know how you do it. You select a range and delete the contents. I want to know how you do it. Like you highlight a range and you delete the content at once. Hello there.
Yeah.
Wow.
When I deleted the entire price, you see, initially I had the price column here. Are you talking about that one?
Yes, please.
Hello?
Yeah, the network, I can't hear you properly.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I was deleting the cells and I was using a shortcut. Sorry for that. So let me show you those shortcuts. I use Control minus and then Control plus. Control minus deletes the cells. Control plus adds cells to it. So let me show you an example. So let's say I want to add some a column or a cell between these two, this side and then this side. I'll highlight this side and then Control plus. If Control plus doesn't work for you, try Control Shift plus. So I'm inserting cells, then Shift cells right, like this. Okay, so I can add anything here.
Okay.
Now if I want to take this out again, I'll highlight it and then Control minus. So you see that there's delete over there. So when I delete, it's going to shift the cells to the left, like this. Are you okay? You can try it out and see.
Okay, sir.
All right. So that's it for cell referencing, absolute and then relative. I'll give you guys an assignment on that. You do a multiplication table, okay? And then you input a formula for just the first, you see multiplication is like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So over here it's 1 times 1. And here should be 2 times 1. But I'll give you an assignment where you input one formula over here, you drag it down to the end, then you drag it down to the right like this, and then it will fill automatically. It will do the multiplication correctly. Over here, it's not doing it correctly. So I'll give you an assignment like that. Okay, so the last one is merging and then center across selection. Let me show you an example. Let me create a new sheet. Okay, you see that I've typed something here, but it's spanning across 2 cells. Okay. So assuming this is a heading, okay, and I want it to span across these two cells, there are two options. First, I can use merge and center. So home tab, I can come here, merge and center. So I combine these two cells into one, okay. But there are certain circumstances where merging is not favorable. Let me show you an example. Let's say I merge these three cells, okay. And then in the course of doing my work, I want to delete this entire column, column E. Let me try and delete it and show you. Okay, it's unmerged. Let me try that again. You guys should try it. Merge three cells together, okay, and then try and delete the middle one. Usually when you merge cells together, it's difficult to delete the one in the middle or any cell which has been merged. So for that case, sometimes merging isn't very convenient. But then if you still want to show the effects of merging, there's another way to go about it. So let's say I want this to span across these three cells. I can use my custom formatting option again. So Ctrl+1. I come to alignment and then horizontal alignment. So under horizontal alignment, I select center across selection. So you see that it has the same effects of merging, but the cells are different now. But this entire text is at the center of the three cells. So I just want you to take note of that. If you want to achieve such an effect and you don't want to merge, there are certain cases where merging is very troublesome. I know because I don't have much data here. When I try to delete it after merging, it's work. But sometimes when you have a lot of data and then you have merged cells, when you try to delete it, won't work. So you can use the center across selection. So to do that, you select the number of cells that you want that text to appear on, Ctrl+1. So right now we won't choose the number tab again. We'll go to alignment tab. And then under horizontal alignment, we select center across selection. You can try that and let me know if it works. Has anyone tried it?
Yeah, it has worked.
Okay. So we have 9 minutes till we close. And I don't want us to start with our practice question because it means we're only going to do it for just 9 minutes. So maybe if you have questions, anything at all, you can ask so that we end for today. Then next week, we can start solving the question fresh.
Please, can you come again with the deleting and adding of cell?
Okay. So deleting and adding of cells. What I was doing was that I was using the shortcut, which is Control+, Control+Shift+ to add, then Control- to delete. But then if you don't want to use the shortcuts, you can right-click on the cells or the cell you want to delete. When you right-click, you see a pop-up to delete. Do you want me to show you the example again? Or is it that you are trying to delete and it's not working?
Yes, please.
Switch. Is it you are trying to delete or you want me to go over the example again?
Yeah, I wanted to go over the example. I've forgotten the step you told us.
Okay, so you can see over here that I have, let's say this is a data range. I have one column here, another column here. So it turns out that I need to add something in between the two. Okay, so I can select the one over here, the one at the end, and then I right-click. I select insert. So when you're trying to insert, Excel will ask you, right now I need to add something. I need to add a group of cells in between the two. It means I have to shift this one right. The one that I've selected now, the one that contains the EEE, I have to shift to the right so that I'll get space in the middle. Okay. So I do it like this. And then I get the cells that I want. Do you get it?
Yes, please.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I want to show you something to it. There's a way Excel inserts cells. So you see that when I wanted to add something in between the two, I selected the one on the right. I didn't select the one on the left. It's because when Excel is adding cells, it's going to shift whatever I've selected to the right. Let me show you an example. So over here, let's say if I want to add in between these two again, and then I select the first set, and then right click and select insert. You see that it's only asking me to shift cells to the right. If I shift cells to the right, I'm not going to get that space in the middle. You see, so it has shifted it to the right and it has created space to the left rather. No, I need a space in between the two. So that's how come I selected this one, the EEE. Right click, insert, shift to the right. You see, there's no shift to the left, shift to the right. That's how Excel is. You can't do anything about it. So shift to the right and then it creates space in the middle. So depending on where you want to insert the cells, you should know which cell to highlight or which group of cells to highlight or select so that you can insert the cells exactly where you want it. Okay. Do you get what I just did?
Yes.
Okay. Any other question?
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Please, I received a message in my inbox that contains the link for the Excel productivity. I used that link and I joined this class. I want to know if I can use that same link for the second class.
Hello, Charles. Did you join the Excel for productivity last week?
Yes, please.
So we are going to use the same link we used for last week.
For last week.
Yes.
Okay, so this one that came today is for this particular class.
Yes.
Okay, so next week, if I want to join this class, can I join it?
I think I input in the chat box that, sorry, the chat box that if you join a class you haven't been assigned to, you're not going to get a certificate for that class.
Okay.
So you're going to get certificate for the class you've been assigned to, provided you do your assignments and then you do what you are required of you.
Okay, so now it's late for me to be assigned to this one.
Yes, please, it is.
All right.
Hello, guys.
Yeah, so I think those of you are getting confused there. Okay, Magnus, go ahead.
Yeah, so we are using the same link for today's classes. Okay, we are having this financial modeling this morning. In the afternoon, we'll be having the Excel for productivity. We are using the same link. That is why you can join the two groups with the same link. But then, please take note that you are going to receive certificates for courses that you were offered. This class is for those who pass the test. You know, we gave you guys some quiz to try just to assess your skills when it comes to the Excel. Okay, so the two groups are open. If you want to join any of them, you can join to learn. But then we are issuing certificates to students we have assigned various courses to. So if you are here and probably you didn't get the financial modeling course, please join the Excel for productivity. Okay, it's a recommendation that we made to you guys. Join that. There will be another session, and if you need to join this as well, you can do that. But for now, you can still join us with this course, but just know that you are not going to receive a certificate if you were not offered this course. Thank you.
Hello guys, can you hear me? Okay. Matmos, are you done? Dennis, do you have a question?
Yes, please.
Okay, go ahead. I can hear you. Dennis, your sound is not very clear. Dennis.
Hello, please, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Your voice is going off again. Can you try and type the question?
Okay.
Yeah. Since when you start asking the question, then your sound disappears.
Hello.
Yes, Abubakar.
Yeah, with the merging center, I
Okay.
tried deleting the middle one, and I used the shortcut key that for the
Control minus.
horizontal. Yeah. Now, for the horizontal, it said the center across selection. But after doing it, I still can't delete the middle one.
So that was the issue I was saying. That was the issue with the merging. So I was trying to tell you guys about. When you merge and when you merge the cells, it's sometimes difficult to delete. So that's why in some cases you have to use the center across selection. So when you're working with the data, it's sometimes difficult to delete when some cells have been merged. So in such cases, just use the center across selection.
And after using the center across selection, it's still not working.
How is it still not working? Do you want to share your screen and then illustrate it to us?
Yeah.
Okay, try and see if you can share your screen.
So I did the center, merging center for this one. So this time here. Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So I'm saying that this one is merged, right?
Yeah.
Go back. Let me see.
Okay.
Okay, so this one is merged. Okay.
Yes.
And now you're trying to do center across selection.
Yeah.
No. So it's either you merge or you do the center across selection. You can't apply the center across selection on the cell. So right now it is on merge. So now apply the center across selection. Let's see. Okay. So now I want to delete column H or
yeah.
Okay, so go ahead. Have you done the deleting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, so that's it.
Thank you.
It. You're welcome. Any other question? Or we bring the class to an end for today and we continue next week. Dennis, do you have another question?
No, please. No, please.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for joining today's class. As usual, we are going to drop the assignments in the Google Classroom. So just like how I showed you guys how to get access to the assignment and upload your work after you are done with the assignment, they are going to use the same process for the assignment we are going to put on the Google Classroom. So as much as possible, please try and submit your assignment on time so that we can use it to grade you. Okay, so we are done with the financial modeling class. Thank you all once again and see you same time next week.